And coming up on the other side of a short break, get me right. This week on Get Me Right, is the India-United States relationship on the rocks and beyond remedy, or is there hope that it could still be redeemed? Also, the post-Article 370 Naya Kashmir is taking strong strides in busting the long-held myths of Pakistan and their allies in India, the Tukre gang. A report debunks the unmarked graves theory. This weekend, Saturday and Sunday, only on Republic TV.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है?
अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा और मसाला।
मुस्कुराए लड़खड़ाए जिंदगी, चाहे जो भी हो।
सर, पेशेंट के लिए कौन सा रूम प्रेफर करेंगे आप?
जिंदगी भर के प्यार का कोई रेट कार्ड नहीं होता। टाटा AIG हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, विद यू लाइक फैमिली, विद यू ऑलवेज।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च। भारत की अपनी दुकान, इंडिया सोना,
अपने देश का सामान, इंडिया सोना, इंडिया सोना,
इंडिया सोना।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ।
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है, सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
play it your way.
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
MDH
Hi there, welcome back to your favorite deep dive show on stories contemporary and consequential for India. This week, I take you inside the Trump administration and American politics to help you decipher the churn in India-United States relations under the mercurial president. As with every tunnel, so with this one, there's light at the end. And I would guide you through the darkness to the slivers of light already visible. Also, a little-known Srinagar NGO came out with a big report on Kashmir's unmarked graves this week, debunking the Pakistani myth-making on forced disappearances in the valley. Ably supported by the Tukre gang, this ecosystem had painted India as an occupier state. A young man in Kashmir has shown the courage to take on this unholy nexus and call their bluff. We should commend the effort. Let's get going.
You have countries like India, almost 1.5 billion people, China, with powerful economies, but they also have their own domestic political mechanisms and laws. So when somebody tells you that they're going to punish you, you have to think, how can the leadership of those countries, of those big countries, which had difficult periods in their history too, that had to do with colonialism, with attacks on their sovereignty during prolonged periods of time, you have to understand that if one of them shows weakness, his political career will be over. So that influences his behavior. Just the colonial era is now over. They have to realize that they cannot use this tone in speaking with their partners.
This was Russian President Vladimir Putin, friend of Donald, as he called the American president, giving some helpful advice on how not to deal with India. He said, you cannot talk down to a country like India with its 1.5 billion people, with its history of colonialism, by which he meant perhaps that the memory triggers resistance even now. But then Trump is his own man. Remember, Putin made those comments fresh from an hour-long meeting with Prime Minister Modi in his limousine before their delegation-level talks in Tianjin on the sidelines of the SCO summit. The optics of Modi, Putin, Xi attracted global attention this past week and made the geostrategic community read big geopolitical realignments. Those might be or might not be. But the bottom line is that the India-United States relations are at their lowest ebb since Nixon made those patronizing and uncharitable comments against Indira Gandhi in the 1970s. Indian public opinion towards Trump is souring as he publicly berates and name-calls the country and its leadership. Look at this post from former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, Prakash Singh. This captures the sentiment spot on. While we would successfully weather the tariff storm, the aftertaste these attacks leave are going to bruise the India-US relationship for some time to come. Trump calling India a dead economy, or as in this post, terming the relationship as one-sided, is factually wrong. The data is in black and white and for anyone to see. US deficit with China is $270 billion plus. With the European Union, it's $161 billion. With Mexico, $157 billion. With Vietnam, $113 billion. With Taiwan, $67 billion. With Japan, $62 plus billion. With South Korea, $60 plus billion. With Canada, $54 billion. Thailand, $41.5 billion. And India, thereabout, $41.5 billion. The American deficit is the least with India, in fact, as the numbers show. While India does maintain a surplus in goods and services trade with the United States, as also remittances by the Indian diaspora, the USA gets an equalizer through the profits American corporations make from their businesses in India. From the hundreds and thousands of Indian students spending billions of dollars on their American education, and the still evolving defense purchases that India has made over the last decade. First things first. This is not just Trump singling out India, even if it seems so. Recently, American ambassador to Copenhagen was summoned as the Danish intelligence found 3 American citizens fomenting dissent and secession among indigenous Inuit communities in Greenland against Denmark. Imagine, Denmark is a NATO ally and accusing America of attempting to break their country. Europe has been similarly slapped reciprocal tariffs, and every European leader is seething under the collar. Japan called off trade talks with the US in a huff just this week. I have always maintained on this show that this is not about Trump. This is about America as a declining empire of the 20th century, negotiating its terms of disengagement with the rest of the world in the present century. Trump is just the face of that process. Trump buying into private corporations, Trump seeking a state commission on private sales, Trump accepting a presidential plane as gift from Qatar, Trump raising tariff walls. All are apiece with the larger theme, an increasingly wobbly empire unsure of itself. And to be fair to him, President Trump himself has not crossed a certain red line in targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. His every attack on India is still prefaced by calling Modi his good friend. But those red lines have been smudged a great deal by Trump lackeys like Peter Navarro and Scott Bessent, both in responsible positions in the Trump administration. Navarro cut his teeth into geopolitics as a China hawk. His 2011 book was provocatively called Death by China, and is said to have opened his doors to the Trump circle, with the president calling the book one of his top 20 favorite reads. Navarro wrote speeches and policy papers for Trump campaign, joining the White House in the first term. He went on to become the brain behind the isolationist and protectionist policies, as also targeting of China. Scott Bessent is a former partner at Soros Fund Management. Forbes has described him a Soros protege, with their relationship going back to the 1991 Black Wednesday crisis that crushed the British pound. Originally a Democrat, having funded and supported Al Gore, Obama, and Hillary Clinton campaigns, Bessent wormed his way into the Trump second term via campaign fundraisers and personal donations. This past of both anti-China in the case of one and Democrat in the case of other, ironically, gives hope in the present for India. In the past 1 week, most heavyweight Democrat voices have come round to speak vocally on salvaging the flailing India-United States partnership. First up was Nikki Haley. The former Trump ally came out openly to defend the relationship through her multiple social media posts. Then came Indian-American community leaders Ro Khanna and Vinod Dham, one a Democrat congressman, another a Democrat-leaning tech guru. House Foreign Affairs Committee of the Democrat Party has been frequently expressing support for India through its posts on X. And while it might seem like that Democrats are rubbing it in, the New York Times, not a traditional friend of India, headlined its editorial Trump's India muddle. Influential voices like that of Richard Haass, President Emeritus of Council for Foreign Relations, a heavyweight of Washington, D.C. think tank circuit, has called the Trump's targeting of India misplaced and the Indo-US relationship as one of the building blocks of American foreign policy to bring India closer to put pressure on China, their original, present and future rival. Nicholas Burns, till recently US ambassador to Beijing, has also taken a position and called the tariffs misguided and weakening American alliances. Former US Deputy Secretary of State for South Asia Kurt Campbell expressed shock at the direction things have taken on the Indo-US front. Quote, Modi is sending a very clear message to America, I have other options, he said in a television interview.
About India, I think all of us who've played a role in building this relationship are in shock and concerned by what we've seen in terms of the substantial degradation in relations in just a couple of weeks. And Modi is sending a very clear message to the United States, I have other options.
In a column co-authored with Biden's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan in the Foreign Affairs magazine, the duo has called the downturn regrettable, even egging Prime Minister Modi to not bend before Trump. There's a suggestion that this is temporary, that the larger India-United States relationship is intact. Sullivan even accused Trump of personally profiteering from a family crypto deal with the Pakistani side. Something is still not denied by the White House. But let me deal with the options that Campbell is alluding to. India's Russia relationship predates the American discovery of India as a strategic ally at the turn of the century. There's a history in which the United States played a key role in putting India tentatively in the Soviet camp, even as we practiced non-alignment. The result of which is that even today, 70% of India's military hardware is of Russian vintage. Operation Sindoor proved that, from the aging L-70 anti-aircraft guns to the cutting-edge supersonic BrahMos missiles. The Russian equipment provided the backbone of India's military response. India cannot wish it away. So shouldn't America. Coming to China. The India-China detente has been going on since October last year, when PM Modi and President Xi Jinping met in Kazan, Russia, on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. It has its own dynamics and momentum. Trump might have only provided it more grist and media attention, more global talk points. But India's engagement with China is cautious, feel the stones cross the river approach. At least 20 rounds of military commander-level talks at the borders and diplomats' dialogues in New Delhi and Beijing preceded Modi-Xi icebreaker in Kazan. the business relationship remains lopsided. During the SCO summit, every Chinese panelist on our debates made this smug point, and not without substance. We can purchase more goods, that is, the Chinese can purchase more goods and services from India, provided we have something to give. Chinese manufacturing overcapacity is not a pain point for India alone. It is a global headache. There is no illusion about China becoming a friend of India at any point. It is not transmogrifying from a dragon to a panda, just that the flares of the dragon might pause, relishing as it is India's discomfiture with Trump's America. With China, it's a transactional trade relationship. Modi's engagement with China is to make sure a repeat of Galwan does not happen, having underscored the resolve to stare down and repulse the border mischiefs. On the other hand, with the United States, it's a people-driven kaleidoscope in which values of democracy provide a broad connect. There are 5 million Indian Americans who have played the role of Pied Pipers in getting the leaderships of the two nations to look in the same direction. Newly built defense ties, diaspora ties, software ties, the Silicon Valley Connect, the H-1B Visa Connect. It's being dissed by the mega constituency of Trump as of now. But deep down, the saner voices know the contribution this dynamic of India-US relations has made in American leadership post-Cold War. The talent supply chain from India has been as crucial as the goods supply chain from China in sustaining America's leadership for that much longer in the unipolar world of last 3 decades. A reconnect needs to be made. I can tell you, behind the cameras, phones are being worked, connections re-established, meetings arranged, even with the Trump circle. Ambassador Vinay Mohan Kwatra is seen as a direct appointee of Prime Minister Modi, given his stint earlier in the PMO. Trump's pick as India ambassador, Sergio Gore, has direct ear of the president. As soon as he lands in New Delhi post his confirmations, we can expect to have a hotline with the White House. Trump inviting failed Marshal Asim Munir for dinner was akin to him inviting Hamas military chief Mohammad Daif or Yahya Sinwar to the White House a month after October 7 attacks. Imagine how Israel would have felt and responded. Someone in the White House team needs to get this right. Thankfully, an attempt, howsoever feeble, is being made. The State Department seems on a salvage mission, as this post by the American Embassy in New Delhi showed, complete with Secretary Marco Rubio's face on it. There's hope. Hear this sliver from a speech Vice President J.D. Vance delivered in Jaipur while on his first visit to India in April.
That our nations have much to offer one another. And that's why we come to you as partners looking to strengthen our relationship. Now, we're not here to preach that you do things any one particular way. Too often in the past, Washington approached Prime Minister Modi with an attitude of preachiness, or even one of condescension. Prior administrations saw India as a source of low-cost labor on the one hand, even as they criticized the Prime Minister's government, arguably the most popular in the democratic world, and as I told Prime Minister Modi last night, he's got approval ratings that would make me jealous.
If this tone can return, where the United States is talking to India and not talking at us, and without pontification, then the relationship might return to an even keel. As another Donald, Rumsfeld of the Bush administration famously said post 9/11, you deal with the America you get, not the America you wish for. We will deal with Trump the way he is and wait for the next president who gets it right. Moving on to the next one.
We urge comprehensive forensic investigation of 276 genuinely unmarked graves in Baramulla district using modern DNA testing techniques. Second, Pakistan should acknowledge its moral and humanitarian responsibility towards its citizens among the documented foreign militants and facilitate family visits to graves in accordance with the international humanitarian law norms. Third, international organizations and governments should reassess their understanding of Kashmir's humanitarian challenge based on empirical evidence. Most importantly, reconciliation efforts in Kashmir should be grounded in honest acknowledgement of complex realities rather than propagation of unsubstantiated narratives that may impede rather than advance the cause of justice and peace. Our research provides an empirical foundation for more informed, constructive ways about Kashmir's past, present and future. The path to sustainable peace must begin with truth.
This press conference by a little-known Srinagar NGO in New Delhi went under the radars this week. This was a significant non-headline news event for Kashmir, so I decided to pick it up for you in this episode. The Save Youth, Save Future Foundation released data from a survey they have done on unmarked graveyards across the Kashmir Valley. The report, titled Unmarked Graves in Kashmir, Unraveling the Truth, turned out a big expose, if one more was needed, of Pakistani propaganda on Kashmir turmoil. The presence of Wajahat Habibullah, a former chairman of the National Commission for Minorities and India's first Chief Information Commissioner, and also a known Kashmir hand, lends credence to the report. The work of the NGO has busted the myth of thousands of unmarked graves in Kashmir as belonging to missing persons who were victims of repression by the Indian state. Had it been just Pakistani ploy, things would have been different. But an entire anti-national ecosystem pushed this narrative, creating a picture of enforced disappearances by the Indian state in conflict-torn Kashmir through the last 3 decades. It was a dangerous design. Back in 2009, under the patronage of the then UPA government of Congress Party, a bunch of these anti-nationals came together under the banner of Jammu and Kashmir Coalition of Civil Society and released a report on these same unmarked mass graves in Kashmir. Look at these names. Angana Chatterjee is a known India baiter in the United States academia. She has lived off last 2 decades of her life dissing India's role in Kashmir before the United Nations and the US Congress. Gautam Navlakha is one of the prime accused in the urban Naxal case of Bhima Koregaon of 2018. He was found so dangerous even by the Congress-led UPA government that he was stopped from entering Kashmir and sent backpacking from the Srinagar airport in 2011 on the grounds that his presence would create a law and order situation. They are the same gang as Arundhati Roy, Binayak Sen, Varavar Rao, Stan Swami, among others. I have followed the work of some of them, as you also must have. They are bound together by a common sentiment. They show India as an aggressor in Kashmir, show Indian Army as an unscrupulous occupying force in Kashmir, and to lobby around the world for a pro-Pakistan position on Jammu and Kashmir. This is the Tukde Tukde gang. In December of 2009, they released this report called Buried Evidence, Unknown, Unmarked and Mass Graves in Kashmir. In this baseless and incendiary report, these anti-nationals claimed that conflict in Kashmir had led to over 8,000 enforced disappearances and death of 70,000 persons, mostly civilians. Based on their work, they claimed to have documented 2,700 unknown, unmarked and mass graves, containing 2,943 bodies across 55 villages in Bandipora, Baramulla and Kupwara districts of Kashmir. Connecting those findings with an unjust Indian state, the report back then called for an international intervention to counter the dangers and violence of Indian rule in Kashmir. Remember, this was the time when the then UPA government was actively considering removal of AFSPA from Kashmir. This report was a prelude and an attempt to create an echo chamber to facilitate the Congress government to carry out the emasculation of the Indian armed forces and to leave the valley an easy meat for the Pakistani terror state to scavenge upon. The work by Save Youth, Save Future Foundation counters this anti-national work of 2009 with meticulous data gathering on the ground. The revelations are not only a slap on the face of these anti-nationals, but throws a challenge to Pakistan. Let me get you the numbers. Of the 4,000 plus graves surveyed, the report found that a majority of 2,493 were of foreign terrorists, likely that most of them were Pakistani. In short, what the bunch of Congress-backed anti-nationals were trying to pass off as unmarked graves of disappeared individuals or Kashmiris are in fact of Pakistani terrorists killed by security forces, and that each grave is accounted for. The report follows years of ground surveys including geotagging, photography, oral testimonies, police data analysis to come to the conclusions. We spoke to the man behind this work, Wajahat Farooq Bhatt. Bhatt used to be a stone pelter in Srinagar before the abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir in 2019. Observing the changes and benefits to the people of Kashmir post the abrogation, Bhatt also turned around and started working on the youth of the valley. Drug de-addiction and justice for families who had lost their members to terrorists became his focus area. Listen to his story.
जो इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ें थी हमारी इस स्टडी में दैट इज वन ऑफ द एस्पेक्ट इज द क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ ग्रेव्स वी कैटेगराइज्ड these graves in 5 categories. Number 1, foreign militants. Number 2, local militants. Number 3, unmarked graves. Number 4, civilians. And number 5, the foreign tribals. I can say that the foreign fighters of 1947. इन कैटेगराइज की बेस पे हमने वी डिवाइडेड द डेटा एंड इन ही कैटेगराइज में हमें जो लोग जो ग्रेव्स मिले कितने परसेंटेज हमें अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 2400 जो ग्रेव्स थे देवर फॉरेन मिलिटेंट्स एंड टू अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 200 ग्रेव्स देवर local militants and 274 around there were unmarked graves and 9 were civilian graves and 70 were the invaders जो 1947 में यहाँ पे आए थे. एंड फाइनली जो सब्जेक्ट जो जो मकसद था इस स्टडी को स्टार्ट करने का एंड हमेशा यही होता है कि रिकन्सिलेशन तब होती है जब सच्चाई हो, जब ट्रुथ हो, एंड ट्रुथ हो जब आपके पास साइंटिफिक मेथड हो, साइंटिफिक डेटा हो जिससे आप ये प्रूव करें कि सच्चाई क्या है. एंड हमारी यही भी एक रिकमेंडेशन है कि दैट जो हमने जो 274 जो अनमार्क्ड ग्रेव्स हमें मिले हैं एंड वी रिकमेंड दैट एक साइंटिफिक एक DNA टेस्टिंग उन ग्रेव्स की भी होनी चाहिए दैट हु एक्चुअली दे आर. एंड at the end there was a narrative of mass graves in Kashmir, mass graves of civilians in Kashmir, and I can tell you this thing that जो हमारा जो डेटा है एंड आपके सामने है एंड जो विद क्लैरिटी विद फैक्ट्स एंड जो हम रिकन्सिलेशन की बात करते हैं एंड जो उसके लिए चाहिए तो we did that.
This is truly a marker of how things have changed on the ground. In the report, Bhatt has sought DNA tests and exhumations from these unmarked graves to establish beyond doubt the antecedents of those who are buried. The work of Bhatt has center staged not only Pakistan's inhuman abuse of its own citizens by turning them into terrorists, but also complicity of an ecosystem in India that thrived under the UPA government. This should go a long way in bringing transparency to the valley in a manner that builds long enduring trust between its people and the rest of India. I have often focused on the separatist sentiment in Kashmir and gone after the likes of National Conference MP Agha Ruhollah Mehdi. But when you get stories like this one, where the same Kashmiris are working hard to dispel the notions of separatism of any kind, then it needs highlighted. Kashmir is changing. It should be a matter of record. Thanks for watching.
Co-powered by Century Ply Club Prime. रहो बेफिक्र.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला. सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप.
मुस्कुराए लड़खड़ाए जिंदगी चाहे जो भी हो
सर, पेशेंट के लिए कौन सा रूम प्रेफर करेंगे आप?
जिंदगी भर के प्यार का कोई रेट कार्ड नहीं होता। टाटा AIG हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, विद यू लाइक फैमिली, विद यू ऑलवेज।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा, राजा और मसाला।
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च, मुस्कुराए लड़खड़ाए जिंदगी, चाहे जो भी हो।
सर, पेशेंट के लिए कौन सा रूम प्रेफर करेंगे आप?
जिंदगी भर के प्यार का कोई रेट कार्ड नहीं होता। टाटा AIG हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, विद यू लाइक फैमिली, विद यू ऑलवेज।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
Yesterday, a coward decided to take our 8-year-old son Fletcher away from us. Because of their actions, we
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji, many congratulations and thank you for talking to me today. This has been a monumental week, absolutely monumental for the country and for you. I want to start by asking you about the date of the announcement of the GST. We'll talk about the significance later. You can put it from a layman perspective what it means. But can you take me into the backstory of what led to the the whole GST announcement on the 3rd of September? There must have been an intense work for many months, as you have said. But that particular day of the meeting, I was told that negotiations were going on right till the very end. And there were some tense moments, there were some disagreements, but eventually it is believed and it's been said that you pushed your way through. You said now and no further, this much and no further, we're going to press with it. So can you tell us what happened as much as you can?
Thank you, Arnab, first of all, to give me this opportunity to talk to you and Republic viewers. This is one of the biggest thing for reforms, and I'm glad it's gone through so well. And I thank each one of the finance ministers in the council for finally agreeing. And I also agree with each of the finance ministers when they put their case forward, the state's concerns forward. But what is more important here is to recognize, and I think it's only right to recognize, on the union's proposal, there was no disagreement. Let's be clear, right from the beginning, you would have heard even that statement which was made by all the 8 states, whatever. They could not criticize the union's proposal because it was pro-poor. It reduced the burden of taxation on the citizens, particularly for the poor, the middle class, the farmer, the MSME, and the items which constitute a monthly ration of a household have all been brought down. So they actually saw the merit of the proposal and they didn't have an opposition to that. So on that question, unanimity, if I have to be fair to everybody, unanimity was arrived at already, even as we were sitting in the council. Right. But where was the argument or where was the contention? Where did the difference arise? It was on the basis of this assumption by states, right or wrong, that as a result of this proposal going through, as a result of the tax cuts that we are talking about, states' revenues will go down. So who is going to protect the state's revenue? And that was the voice of largely the opposition states and only the opposition states. Now it is on that there was an argument. And it was on that there were discussions, not 1 round, not 2 rounds, 3 full rounds. And that is why it took all the time for the council to end. And in that, there were two arguments that I had in my mind, and I put it forward. I said, look, Prime Minister Modi, when in the budget of 2025, gave income tax relief till 12 lakhs. Did not hesitate for a moment saying my revenues will go down. Because he believed that money should reach the hands of the people. They should have some money left in their hands after all the taxation to decide on where they want to spend, whether for the daughter's education or for the son to set up a business or something else, or for them to build a new room to their house, or to buy some, aspirational goods, whether bigger refrigerator, bigger TV, whatever, or save or put in the stock market. He didn't, hesitate saying, I won't give this because my revenue will come down. Similarly, during COVID, 140 billion people, you gave vaccination free. You do something, get the revenues mopped up, but you will not ask anybody. Citizen will not be asked to pay for the vaccination, nor will the states be asked to bear the cost. We'll do it all on our own. Second. Third, the unique responsibility for the center is take care of our entire country's defense. We don't go about saying, oh my God, where will I get this money? I want the states to help me. We don't. So I quoted all this and I said, revenue in the hands of the people, meaning more money in the hands of the people, less taxation in the hands of the people, would result in them going out to decide how they want to spend that money or save that money. That will kickstart the virtuous cycle. More demand in the market, more consumption in the market. Industry feels they want to expand on their capacities. Production will increase. Then that creates more jobs. And so on. The virtuous cycle. So the arguments which some of the states were putting forward was, who will bear the brunt? So I said, we are sitting in a house, meaning the GST Council, where center and states are together. No such my baap ka attitude can prevail here. I am not sitting with a suitcase where from I can give you something. I am also expecting to take something out of this kitty which is lying in the center. You contribute, I contribute, you take, I take. Per a formula. So how is it that we suddenly think there is a central government which has a suitcase from where it can go on giving to the states? As it is without the Finance Commission telling me to give, I am giving 50 years interest-free capital expenditure money for you. No Finance Commission told me to give it. And that in the last 4 years uninterrupted we are giving every year post-COVID. Today approximately it's reached 8 lakh crores. Purely from my kitty. Purely from my kitty vaccination. So I said, if I am also going to bear the brunt of reduced revenue, the kitty is common. I don't have a spare kitty to pay from. Nor do I come to ask you for the common defense or COVID or SASKI. Give me your petrol revenue. Give me your liquor revenue. I don't ask you. So nobody is going to be able to fill up for somebody else's deficits. We all should become efficient in tax collection, stop evasion, make sure that our efficiencies results in more into that kitty.
Were there hot moments?
Tense moments, not hot moments.
Was there a consensus when on the 15th in the morning the Prime Minister, 15th of August, said that I am going to be giving you a gift on Diwali? How far away were you from that moment of decision making or consensus? The Prime Minister had set a time target for you.
Yes, I had no clue how it will go through in the GST Council. Because the final decision is with the Council. Prime Minister indicated his desire that the people...
Fairly in detail. I mean,
yes.
He went quite detailed about it.
No, he didn't go to the details. He said this...
He made the broad principle announcement.
He said, I want to give a gift to the people well in time for Deepavali.
He mentioned GST.
Yes, sir. GST...
So that put a lot of pressure on you, didn't it?
Yes, in GST, but that's all he said. Through GST, I want to give a gift to people before Deepavali.
Yeah, but it's a complex thing to deliver.
Yes. And then one had to follow the rules and procedures. give the centre's proposal to the group of ministers. Then the group of ministers considers and then says, I'll take it to the GST Council. Then we'll have to notify the GST Council date. As we notify, we send the agenda. The states will have to look at our proposals. Then there is an officers committee meeting which happens prior to the council meeting.
You're pushing it all through. You're pushing it through, rushing it through personally at it.
And there were some people who said, well, do it before Navratri. Because in Bengal, in the eastern parts of the country, that's when they
and
go
this
to
time
market. And
Durga Puja is
earlier. So
you've done it before, well before Durga Puja.
Well, so some people said, why don't you do it from 20th, if the council clears? I said, it's all right, but we need time for the systems, the digital systems to be fed the newer rates once the council approves. That itself will have to be done both by centre and states. Give them some time. So they suggested, why not September 20th? Then my little bit of sense that it is Shraddha period, Pitru Paksh. I said, wait till Mahalai. Do it from the next day after that. So that's why 22nd.
Well, I mean, you know, when I'm talking to you about this, I have deja vu moments. I've sat in this very room, I think here, or this room, with Arun Jaitley when GST was passed. And the monumental nature of that decision and the monumental nature of this one, I think he would have been so proud of what you have achieved as well here. Why are the states still complaining then? They're still complaining. Okay, so broadly, is it because they have a problem with this number? Because they're coming up with accurate numbers. M.K. Stalin says that this is unfair. It is not serving the people unless it protects my revenues. Kerala is saying we will lose 5,000 to 10,000 crores. Jharkhand is saying 2,000 crores. Are these numbers the real issue, or at some level? And since you're an active politician as well, is it also about the politics of it? That you've gone around to the people talking about Gabbar Singh tax for the last few years. And now that's a big argument that is taken away from their political armory. So I feel it's got more to do with politics as well. Don't you also think that there's a strong part of it?
Absolutely.
The opposition is more political than number based?
Because they couldn't oppose the centre's proposal on the substance or on its merit. Then how do they sort of cover themselves up? On the contrary, on one score, if they are seen opposing this proposal, it is going to be not to their credit. At the same time, they can't allow the credit to be given completely to the centre. So how do they make a bit of a difference to the whole thing? Say my revenues are going away. My point is, are you not interested in reducing the burden of the people? Yes, let's see, for a few months revenues may go down. But because people can come now to buy more, and there will be a enthusiasm among people from various segments.
Do you think people will deliver? Do you think people will respond after 22nd?
I'm sure they will respond.
You think companies will comply? There's been this whole argument that companies, there has been some regulatory pressure to make
I understand.
There's been a question that's been spoken about a lot.
But aren't you now seeing in the public domain many companies coming out to say we will definitely pass on? I was surprised Mahindra put this out saying we are not even waiting for 22nd from today.
Can I give you an example? A few days back I was at Kolkata airport and I think we bought some mithai, and the GST rate which was offered was I think 5%. And so we were very pleased to note that companies had not even waited for your announcement. So I think it will apply, but this question has been asked. So would you like to say something on that to sort of reassure consumers?
We are in talk.
Will you keep a watch?
First of all, we are already engaged with them to say, come out openly, say it, that you will pass it on. And many of them are responding. And that will continue till the 22nd.
Okay.
But from the 22nd, I have committed that I will personally monitor and talk to people from the different regions and states.
Okay.
District level, some of them.
Okay.
And if they think ground reports say that it is not getting passed on, then I will engage with that particular sector and that industry and that business house and say, tell me why you wouldn't want to pass.
Oh, so you're willing to sort of have a watch and keep a conversation.
Absolutely.
It's not as if Nirmala Sitharaman has decided this is a number, now however hell you want to implement it, you can do exactly what you want. It's not that. It's a process will continue.
Absolutely, I shall keep a watch.
Are you open, Ms. Finance Minister, on discussions with other stakeholders. You say, we also have a lot of areas, sectors and all who are not happy. Many are happy, many are still not happy, and many are making representations. For example, you have the Clothing Manufacturers Association of India, CMI, which is saying the 18% GST on garments above 2,500 will hit their festive season sales, you know, saris, clothes, and jewelers say that, you know, that the reforms continue to impose a tax on tax. They're talking about a 5% tax on making charges on top of the 3% GST on gold. Some FMCG players have flagged that detergents, which is a 45,000 crore market, was left out. I don't want to discuss any specific sector with you. My broad question to you, Ms. Sitharaman, is that looking forward, will your ministry, the government, engage with these groups, these various industry bodies who may make representations, or is this a hard and fast?
No, we've never hesitated.
How do people engage with you?
They do already with us, and the process is open. I mean, they know the route. They just send our email, then we fix a time for them to come wherever they are, and then once they come, we sit and hear them patiently out. So that system will continue. That approach, openness is ready.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
They can always approach us, and I'll definitely sit with them and hear them out.
At the rate that things are going, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Congress party starts approaching you for authorship of this proposal as well. Did you find it interesting that, you know, everybody in the Congress was claiming authorship of this proposal? They're saying it's because of us. First they said Gabbar Singh tax, now they said it's principally because of us. May I ask you, in that context, was there any discussion with the opposition parties? I mean, they're claiming authorship. They said this is entirely happening. All the good news that Nirmala Sitharaman is giving is because they're behind this idea.
Only then they are not able to give me an answer for a question which I posed 2 days back. If indeed they were so wise and their wisdom guided me, why wasn't their wisdom available for their own party when they were in power for 10 years? They could have done this GST then.
They could have passed, but they say it was difficult, and their argument is that at that time the BJP was not supporting us.
Yeah, because you were not even convincing the states about compensation. Here was Sri Arun Jaitley, who designed and gave you a compensation package in which the earnings of the centre's exclusive domain, the excise on tobacco, was also brought in, saying, okay, you levy on it and collect it. He earned trust.
True.
Prime Minister Modi earned the trust, saying if states' concerns are not addressed, we can't. And it was addressed, and therefore it was implemented. Why couldn't you, and your wisdom which is available freely for me every now and then, why wasn't available to them earlier?
You put it very well. They have a lot of wisdom which they throw at you in hindsight. Every now and then. Everyone's advising you. Everyone has a piece of advice for you. Ms. Sitharaman, when GST was brought in with then slabs which were then brought in, there was consensus, but surely it wouldn't have been a very popular move at that point of time. Could you tell me, from your broad understanding, what are the 1 or 2 changes in the Indian economy which have allowed this to happen? You know, I'm sure in every budget, allowed this change to happen. Every budget, I have interviewed you every year, every budget, the one question everyone puts to you, and you do get irritated about it, that what have you done for the middle class? And I said on my program the other day, or when you did this, I said that this is not a promise to the middle class, this is a collaboration. The Prime Minister has made the middle class an active participant in the process of change and to face global headwinds. But my question to you is, what is it that allows us to do this number today, which was not possible to do when Arun Jaitley first brought in the rationalization of GST in the first place? What has changed in the country from then to now?
First of all, the introduction in 2017 of GST brought the country's market together.
It was the biggest structural reform.
Unless that was achieved, this couldn't have been possible. That's the first one.
Agreed.
Second, despite COVID and post-COVID, the revival of Indian economy, the activities, the buzz, the the aspiration with which the small businesses were all coming up and fulfilling many of those goals that they set for themselves. I should do better in my business, I should now export, I should be finding more newer market. Digitization which came and facilitated them, that they were able to capture newer markets even digitally. So simultaneously many such things happening. Banks opening up in the sense with better health to give further credit. The transition of the banks from being fragile to the twin balance sheet problem and then to become healthy, they making credit available. So many factors. And the mass acceptance of UPI, where people started buying things.
Tremendous.
All these facilitated the revival of the Indian economy post-COVID. Now, once the revival is happening, your revenue generation improves. And GST's revenue generation crossed 2 lakh crores per month on an average. And you saw that therefore refunds were also happening quickly to
compliance
businesses.
was better.
So all these and a stable policy for export or for any other economic activity have all brought in an environment where you think you now can take it up. And also in the 5 years, minus the 2.5 years of COVID, GST stabilized. So I can now think of shaking it up for a next.
And are you also looking at saying that the productive money in the hands of people should remain productive? I was drawing a link, you can tell me whether I was right or wrong. I said that the way in which you brought in this concept of the sin industry, or for example the 40%, on online gaming. I think the 40% tax which is applicable on online gaming, because there was an estimation that between April and July, as much money was meant on online games via UPI, which is comparable to the money spent in drugstores and pharmacies. It's not a very productive habit. And then there is a crackdown on online betting. Is there a big philosophy we are seeing here? The money from online gaming you want to draw into more productive expenditure on food, essential items, online betting.
Yes.
And then you also want to disincentivize people from smoking, into the super luxury items. Is there a broad principle of social reform that is associated with it? Or is this purely economic? You think the money spent on unproductive, quote unquote, sinful activity will be spent in productive activity? Is it a mix of both?
It's a mix of both.
Can you talk a little bit about it?
See, first of all, it is not as if only through this reform have I classified demerit goods which go to 40%, which is commonly known as sin goods.
You've done it in the budget.
It is there before. It is in GST even before.
Yeah.
Those were the goods on which we had the highest 28%, plus the compensation cess.
You made it just more severe.
Some of them went to 88%, some went to 53%, and so on. We've now brought it all to 40%. Because that's the highest available for me in the GST. That is one thing. Second, if this is being done under GST, the banning of online money games through the law is done also because the voice of the people was reaching the PMO, saying my family and my children are all getting sucked into this, and as a result families'
are being destroyed.
monthly income is getting destructive, in the sense it's getting paid for all these unproductive activities. We can't anymore, and we are not able to dissuade our young from getting into this.
Because there are algorithms behind these games which compel a person to become an addict. And you're right there.
Yes, and also some of them, even if it is not intended to be played with money, get drawn thinking it's all free. Because the entry is deceptive. It says no charge on this, come in. But the moment they get in, there's something which is hidden, that charge is happening. And the person plays the second game, further charge, and so on. So, inadvertently many people are getting into this.